Welcome back, guys, to another voiceover. My name is Sakimi-chan, and for this term's voiceover, I guess I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate, so I'm gonna keep drawing Baldur's Gate. This time we're gonna work on the new Shadowheart with her new hairstyle and all that. So yeah, it's a nice contrast to her character when you start out the game in Act 1 and 2, and then in Act 3, she kind of switch up her look. At least that's for one of the options. I'm not sure if you can pick the other side, but yeah, I ended up with this version of her in my playthrough, so I wanted to see what I can do with that. So this outfit is inspired by one of the cosmetic item you can buy in the game. Like it's in one of the shops, and kind of also looks like her bra set. So trying to do something a bit elegant with it. I've already finished the base background, slightly worked on, although it's still kind of rough. But this is kind of the process for that. So I did the sketch and then put in the base color and then um, did a rough background for it. In the background, I took photos from this mirror is actually the newest cosmetic mirror they added into the game. I took a screenshot from my own game, and then the background is a background I found by Googling Baldur's Gate environment, basically. Whatever I could find to kind of fit the mood I want, and I just stuck them together, and that is how I did the background. But without further ado, here is the sketch, and we're just gonna get started. Alright, so I think what I'll do first is we'll do the usual thing. So we're gonna add a quick shadow base, and then we'll merge it down to all the layers, and then go from there. That way we can speed things up. Um, just having that shadow base to work from. And now I have to think about where am I going to have the light source. So the light source I'm thinking is gonna come from the back, so there's gonna be rim light. But other than that, I think I could just go for a pretty somewhat of a from a highlight from the top type situation. So highlight from the top, and shadow won't be so harsh because I'm still kind of not sure where I want the shadow to be. So I'll just quickly add some basic shadow. And the face is going to be reworked, as you can see. But it's good to have like a basic sketch rough face to go from. Add some hair. Trying to go for a more elegant look. Alright, so let's add a little bit of shadow here. And then I'm gonna select this blue tool right here, blend, fingertips. These are all default settings for this program, so it's nothing really customized. So I just use this tool to quickly blend things out. This is a very, very good tool to just get things started. It's not the best for, refining, but it's pretty good to get get a nice broad base to work from. So just like that, we did a quick little shadow base starter up. I'm going to create another layer, multiply, and this time we are going to deepen her skin tone a little bit. So I like to work with a much brighter skin base because I like to layer in the skin tone afterwards. So this is what we're doing now. We're just adding skin tone over this. And also, since I want to do the whole rim light in the background thing, I have to make sure her skin tone is kind of, at least her skin has a bit more shadow to it there. That way I can enhance the rim light look afterwards. And for the clothing, we'll just use blue. So something like this. Add a variety of tones. So we're gonna add a little bit of pink. And then let's go with some blue towards the edge. Let's add a bit, actually a bit more of this tone right here. Let's lower the opacity. Create a new layer. Let's go screen and we'll just do a really rough, quick little rim light. See how we could kind of make this work. So I'll just test it out real quick. I'm positioning the rim light in the areas where I think that the rim light's gonna be at. So we'll have the rim light on this side maybe. And then on this side, maybe we could have some intense lighting, maybe like on this part of her face. This is going to be shadow, and then there's going to be some sunlight or at least intense lighting coming from above this direction, hitting that part of her a little bit under her belly button, and finishing off right on this leg right here. Okay, and with that, I'm going to add in that lighting I was talking about, and we're just going to quickly see if this is going to look good or not. Okay, now that I've added that, it doesn't read as well because it lacks contrast from the rest of her, which is fine because we can definitely add the contrast in. Maybe some highlight on the arm. We'll have to tone down the rim light on this side. Let's go back to the shadow and then basically just darken, especially around the highlight area. That's how we can make this intensity, this lighting intensity stand out a bit more, because otherwise it's not gonna read that well. At least I prefer it to be a bit more intense like this. Let's go ahead and add some blue rim light towards the bottom portion. Actually, hold on. Probably wouldn't be a good idea to use multiply for this. So we will use maybe screen. Add some screen towards the bottom portion. Okay, so now we're starting to see some sort of lighting forming, and it is still quite rough, but at least it gives me an idea of what it could be. And sometimes, you know, we have to test things out, and sometimes the rougher the better because there's more interpretation, more things for you to interpret as an artist instead of having things fully fleshed out. That's just something that has been taught to us at like in the art program that I was in, and also while working, you know, doing concept art, they always say like, oh, there's more possibilities when the concept is still very rough, and people could have like different imaginations. They could imagine different things, and then we make the concept a bit more solidified, more details and stuff. It becomes more rigid, and you know, um, less people will have different interpretations. Mm. So if I end up doing this, then I think most likely, let's see. Maybe I want the face too. Trying to see what kind of face lighting I want for Shadowheart now that that's done. Maybe I could do it like this. That's a rough guide of how that might look. And then if that's the case, I might have to go back and kind of darken the mirror a little bit, but that would defeat the purpose of this whole concept, which is to have an intense rim light in the background. Uh, but if that's the case, her hand is quite bright. I definitely need something to kind of put in the background so her hand would stand out against the mirror, which is already quite bright. So maybe we'll have like uh maybe some sort of drapery. That's something, you know, always something that we have to think about. Like if we switch up the shadow of the character, then you know maybe we have to modify the background for the character to stand out, and vice versa. Whatever we have to do, because if I don't have this, then the brightness of the hand is gonna get blended into the mirror background, which you know might be something you're okay with, but I always like to make sure the characters stand out, at least the silhouette. So with that, I think that should do it. I'm gonna be using this as a guide. So yeah, it's a lot of layers. And I can also kind of play around with the opacity. Maybe we can, you know, not make it super intense, but maybe we can keep it at 70% maybe. After I'm done, I'll just go ahead and basically apply these layers to each of my uh, character parts layers. But yeah, this might take a while. So we'll just copy, paste, merge down. I still haven't figured out a faster way of doing this. So for now, this is the way I'm doing it. I'm sure maybe there's a faster way, but I haven't figured it out. And this process is pretty similar to how I would do the same thing in Photoshop. Blend, 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 arm. Drape, last but not least. Alright, so that is done. Now that everything's merged down, I can now go through each of these layers and basically start rendering them out. I think I might need to cut this and put it on top of that layer. Hand. There we go. Okay, now that that's done, we'll just let's go from let's start off with the body because it's a pretty big part, and I think we can make some good progress here. So we have a base of shadow already. So from there, actually, I want to borrow some of that color from the reference. And it's kind of interesting to see the difference in tone. I'm gonna start off, go with the airbrush instead of the water brush. Okay, I have to wait for Clip Studio to do a backup. And it makes the program lag when it does it, but it's better to do it. Let me lower the opacity of the lines. Let us zoom in as well. Add some blue. Add a bit more blue, especially towards the side. Add a little bit of shadow there. I'm gonna slowly sculpt out her clavicle. Let's add a little bit of a warmer skin tone over here. Using the lasso tool, I'm gonna block off a little bit of the area so I can get a nice sharp selection, and then I'm going to use the lasso tool once again to intensify the contrast a little bit just to create some sort of nice clean shadow outline. And then I'll just use the blending tool just to blur certain areas of it because we don't want to blur everything. We have to make sure that there is a good balance of blended and also sharp. Too much blended and it'll become like airbrush, too airbrushed. So we'll just slowly blend this area. Next up, this area. Still using the airbrush, we'll just continue to clean this area up. And also I'm going to kind of contour some of these shoulder areas. So with that, what I'll do next is copy paste. I'll just darken that area. Darken that area, go into watercolor. So there's just only these tools that I really use, and you know, it's always good to kind of just experiment with blending with them, or just any other tool you want to use to blend with. It doesn't have to be these. But yeah, it's interesting to see the type of rendering result they could get. So with that, I'm going to constrain down, merge down. I'm going to kind of drag this part down a bit. That's the liquify tool. And we'll just clean things up. Now, time for the brow. So for the brow, I'm feeling a little lazy, so what we're going to do is we are going to literally grab the texture from the in-game model. That's gonna save us so much time. Or I could just use my screenshot of Shadowheart that I have. So this is gonna help with just making things a little bit easier and faster. So I'm gonna grab that part, paste, and of course we still have to do work on this later, but this will be a nice little base to paint over. This is another thing that is done in the concept art industry. Whatever you can do to make things faster. If you feel like this is cheating, then you don't have to do it, but this is a good way to speed things up. So once I do that, you can already see that it's adding a nice amount of like form to it. But of course it doesn't really fit what we have because the lighting is a little bit different. So because of that, then we will go in and basically reinterpret certain areas to apply the lighting that we have going on in the piece on top of that texture that we just applied. So like this. Still quite rough, but it's a good base to start from. And from there, I like to do some scribbling. It doesn't need to be perfectly shaped to the texture or the actual base. A little scribbling and pray that it ends up working out, because sometimes it ends up working out, sometimes it just doesn't look that good. But whatever it is, we try it out and hope for the best. I also wanted her bra to have a nice white shape, at least the overall color of it. So this whole part right here, copy paste. We are going to brighten it. Oh, that's very colorful, but I don't know if it'll fit. Ooh, that looks pretty. I like this color. Let's go with it. So we change up the color for the base, and then we'll just kind of blend it. Have a look at the reference for her bra real quick, because there's a lot of intricacy going on with her bra, which is pretty interesting. Like, her bra is probably the most her underwear is the most fanciest underwear that I've seen. in the companions from the companions. Uh, okay, I think I have to switch to the pen tool. Let me do some in interpretive ornate design. So I'll use this really sharp tool just adding some very sharp details. And then we'll just kind of wing it from there. After that, go back in, lower the opacity. Add some scribbly detail of where you think the highlight is gonna be. It's pretty messy, but if you zoom out, it looks not too bad. So yeah, it's a lot of messy details right here. Okay, let me see here. It looks like her bra has another little detail like this. So we'll try to see what we can do here. Maybe some ornate design like this. We'll add some of our own little detail. It doesn't actually go like that, but hey, kind of looks like it would. Alright, so just like that, we did a quick paint over of the bra. And this is a great way of speeding things up, or at least just to get like a base down so you can spend more time on it later if you want to. Next, we can darken that area. Use the airbrush here. Add some lighting towards the bottom. This is for me to correct the lighting slightly. Grab that color. Use the lasso tool once again. Do a little before and after. Still need to work on this part, but I think most of it is going to a direction that I think is good. Let's add some highlight in that little crevice area now. There we go. I'll zoom out. We can start to see some type of form, some type of I guess it looks more 3D. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. Okay. Reminds me of World of Warcraft. Modify it slightly. Go back to the body now because we worked on the bra, so now things should be a little bit easier to interpret. As we solidify each area, each of these areas. Let's give Shadowheart that nice toned look. She is slim and fit-ish. Yeah. Not as fit as Karlach, but she is fit. And the belly button. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the drape that I have. Let's go ahead and darken that part, that area. I'm going to render out as if she's just wearing underwear. Drape will be overlaid as a separate layer. One, and I might tone down her legs because it is quite thick. But it's better to go thicker and then kind of reduce that later on. That's how I do it, but I mean, you can always do it the other way as well. I'm gonna get a nice underwear line for her. I think I'll just keep her underwear dark for now. Go ahead and establish that part. And use the lasso tool once again. Now her face just has to catch up with her body. Her body is a little bit more rendered compared to her face. Okay. This should be enough rendering for now. I'm not going to make the rendering super detailed. I have to make sure to kind of just do an overall render by render of her whole entire character and not focus on one thing so that I can kind of gauge to see if everything fits and stuff. So now we're gonna go render out the arm real quick. Just a little quick putting down the color, making sure that it matches. And then we have the brace, the arm brace, which again, I'm gonna be a little lazy on that and try to use a shortcut, which is by using the texture and painting over it like I did with the bra. And then the hand's gonna look a little bit like blobby for now. The hands are typically one of the last parts of the body I work on because they're tiny and they require a bit more attention, and I don't want to get stuck on them for too long, so I like to work on them towards the end. So we're gonna take the brace from my screenshot and then plop, lower the opacity because it doesn't actually fit if I just plop it down. So we'll just lower the opacity first and constraint down, lower that a bit more. And then we'll use this tool right here. Do some little scribbles. This is my attempt to blend things in. Well, eventually I'll blend in. I'll come back to this part. It looks a little bit meh for now. Let's lower the line some more. Zoom in. I'm gonna select the areas and then move them. I think I might try to ease up on the hips. Let's do that again. Select the area, move them. Go into liquify, move the pixels towards the selected area. Deselect. So I'll just slowly kind of clean that area up. Slowly shaping the legs as well. Grab this whole leg. I'm going to blend this leg down. I want this leg to be in the back, so we're gonna have highlights towards this area and then gradually have it fade into some shadow. Using the lasso tool again, selecting the outer edge of the other leg. Adding some shadow to the other side of the leg silhouette. And then I'm gonna kind of just work on that silhouette, the leg silhouette. Lock in the layer. Work on the edge, the silhouette, and we're going to add some shadow there. Clean up the shading around the underwear. Let's use the lasso tool and airbrush again. Add shadow towards the outer edge of the leg silhouette. And we can slowly but surely render this out. I'm gonna go back to the airbrush. I prefer the airbrush for the skin, or at least for this area, because I have more control if I use this. We'll just, I guess I'll try to do a bit of cleanup on her stomach area. Imply some ribs. Using the lasso tool, select the outer edge of the underwear. Go back to the airbrush, and we're just going to airbrush this area. Okay, I think that looks a little bit cleaner. Not sure if could probably improve the look by playing around with the shape. Maybe I can give her more of a slim figure. I'm not sure yet. But it's always good that we can just do this and basically move things around to see what looks best. Right now I'm just moving around the hips and stuff. Mm, let's take this part of her leg, paste. Merge down. Okay, now clean up the silhouette a bit more. Lock it, airbrush. Grab a bit of this shadow. And then grab a bit of the blue light like that. Zoom, let's move on to this part, the rib cage part, and we'll do some work refining that area. Add some drop down shadow from her corset or from her bra onto her skin. Okay, so that is done. Let me lower her rib cage a little bit. Take the lasso tool, accentuate her waist. Okay, that should do. Although now I don't know if her shoulder might be a bit too wide for her figure. Now that I slimmed it down like a lot. Okay, we'll just move things over. Next up, the bra. We touched on that briefly. Let's go to the drape. Lower the opacity, and I have to just rewrap this around her since I slimmed her down, so we'll just move the draping and stuff. And for the drapery, let's go ahead and actually, I want to test it out. Let's use the pen tool. Since blending in Clip Studio is pretty easy compared to Photoshop, I'm going to basically block in what I want to blend out, and we'll try to see if we can kind of get a nice draping render out of this. So I'm also trying to keep in mind like the highlight, light source and whatnot, making sure that, especially this part where the leg is kind of raised towards us, that part in particular has to be accentuated with the highlight. And then the rest of the area, trying to see if I can kind of just wrap it tightly against the shading of her leg, especially how she's bending her leg and stuff. We have to make sure to kind of have that same feeling as if we're trying to go for that Greek statue look where the fabric is sculpted tightly around the anatomy. So because of that, I'm gonna do this a little bit. Or actually, I could lower the opacity a bit. Go into multiply and basically mark. So this part is gonna go down, and then this part wraps around the leg. Bring it up. Now we have a rough guide of kind of where we want to make sure the highlight slash shadow will be. Next up is we'll just start by wrapping around her waist. And let's go back to my screenshot right here. So this is the design of the outfit I have her wearing. So we will do a little bit of an inspiration from this. And also I could probably grab some of these little details after and add it on for extra bit of uh, just for this design aesthetic, make things flow better in the design. Because sadly, I don't think this is gonna cut it. Just simply having the wrap around the draping. There needs to be some sort of element tying the bra to the drape. So I'll just maybe I might copy a bit of the bra detail and put it on the draping somehow. That way we can have a nice, consistent design. Which is something I picked up as well while working as a concept artist. They always tell, we have to make sure the design is consistent. So if you have something interesting somewhere, try to incorporate that element into the other parts of the clothing. And another technique is the repetition technique, which is basically the same thing. You copy same design throughout the outfit, and that way it helps blend design together, have the design be consistent and whatnot. I think we're doing a good job right now of blending certain parts, but still it's reading a little bit too blobby and undefined. So we'll just keep at it, and I'm gonna switch to the airbrush and also switching to the lasso tool. Go back to normal mode. What's interesting is that in Photoshop you can toggle blending modes for every brush, but in Clip Studio, I think for now only airbrush is able to have a blending option, blending mode option. But maybe I'll discover something along the way. I haven't really looked into the other brushes as much. Just been sticking with the good old basic brushes. Alright, so we did a little render, wrapping the fabric alongside around her legs and making sure they feel tightly wrapped around her anatomy and stuff. Looking like those silk look. Let's give a little bit of extra silhouette on the outside. And it's lagging now. I'm gonna have to wait till that's done. They do this, well, the program does this automatically, so we have to wait for it. I guess for now I'll just keep it like that. Lock the layer. Let's do this. Right now it's reading a little bit kind of not enough contrast, but I think we'll slowly get to it. So for now, I think this is a good base. I'll just blend out the rest of this area. Okay, so I want to intensify this area a bit by really accentuating the switch between highlight and shadow. So I have to intensify the shadow in this area. Let's go ahead and use a bit more of the pinkish tone right there. Sculpt out the bikini line a bit more. Add a bit of blue, the background color. And then we'll go select this part, paste, deselect, intensify. Really have to make sure this like stands out, so we up the contrast. Blend that brightness in, or just blend this highlight in general. And then we'll pop back on the drape, and this time we will do the same to the drape. So intensifying that one area where the lighting is coming from by basically making sure the surrounding area is a little bit darker. Let's do that, paste, make sure that area is bright, and tweak the slight tone of that highlight. After that, we have to blend it in. So right now I'm not a big fan of the undertone of this drape. I want to add some other tones in there, not just like this gray blue. So I'll have to figure that out somehow, but for now we can kind of just go with this for the base. And we'll just blend that in. Let's create a new layer constraint down, and let's put in a bit of warmth into it. Let's go color, airbrush mode, and let's try to have the warm tone towards the top portion of the fabric and see how that works, how that looks. And then we'll have the blue towards the bottom portion. Of course, it's not looking that great. We'll just lower the opacity and then we'll experiment with different types of color. Not really into any of them, so we'll just lower it really low and leave it for another day. Leave it for later. But for now, we can work on the leg part, so we'll do that. At least the leg part is not too bad. We'll just keep it as it is for now. Okay, now that I have the drape kind of done, I have to do the arm. So the arm, once again, is gonna come from this. Grab that, paste, put it on there. So now using the texture actually gives me some idea of what I could use as an undertone for throughout the piece. So I could definitely use this color, which is like a warm gray slash cool tone, which is blue, to balance things out. Another really cool thing about using texture is that it gives you ideas. So let's go with that. Keep it kind of rough. That's fine. I think I might have this as a separate layer, so I'll call this. No, wait. Okay, we'll do it like that. And then for the hand, go with airbrush, and I'm going to just airbrush on some warm tone. Warm tone. I guess I could do a quick render, although I would like to leave that for last. But let's sketch out her fingers. And then one more hand. One more finger, I mean. One more finger. So with that, I sketched out her fingers. And with that done, I can move on to the liquify tool and kind of play around with it some more. Sometimes you can make the fingers maybe behave a little bit more fluidly. So maybe something like that. Delete. Now that I have that done, time to work on the face. Let's do a quick little render for the braids. So I'll go with the hairbrush that I downloaded off of the apps. I mean the the program asset store that they have built in. I'll just do a little brush stroke rendering. We're gonna come back to this, so this is not really too important. I just wanna get some of the shape down, and also shape and rough lighting. Let's go select that area, tone correction, color balance, highlight. And I would like for this highlight to be warm toned, so I'm dragging it towards the yellow and the red dial. And after that, we go back to the hairbrush and basically do some more. We'll just add some rough outline of where her hair is. And then hairpin, not gonna touch that. This part, I don't think I need to touch that just yet, but I could render it out slightly. I could also borrow some of the color from the reference. Go to the face. Now the face, we're gonna really have a closer look here. First up, I have to reappear the lines. I'm going to specifically just copy the lines for the face and basically paste it onto the face itself, and we're going to be working from that. So from here, I'm going to make some adjustments, mainly just the shape of her face. You know, her face is a little bit more longer and more cheek structured than what I had, so we'll just slowly work it to look more like the character. So let's go ahead and use a shadow, and also now that we have, you know, some color going on throughout the body, we can just basically borrow color from that, and at the same time looking at the reference gives me some idea of how her facial structure is kind of like. So let's go ahead, work on her eyes first. At least she has a dark eyeshadow. That's definitely like a more recognizable feature of her face is her makeup. And her very, very thick dark eyebrows. So we'll just slowly focus on those points and work our way through the rest of her face, which I think I could probably get away with just doing my usual nose, little tiny nose thing. As long as I have those recognizable features on her, everything else I think could be played around with, moved around and stylized. Let's add a bit of pink. Add a bit of pink there. Let's borrow some of the colors from the reference. Gotta highlight the chin. I'm gonna be working on that later as well. Slowly but surely, we're gonna get that facial structure down. Okay, bit by bit, so I'll just merge everything down. Go into the moving tool now. Let's kind of give her a little bit of a refining for her face. Okay, let's go ahead and sculpt out that nose now. Waiting for the auto recovery setting to, yep, there we go. ahead, use some of that. Grab some of this, the highlight. I'm going to sculpt out her nose a bit more. Now that that's done, we're gonna take the face. I think these part, move it over a little bit, maybe down. Rotate. Copy that part of her face, move it around. So this is the part where I'm just going to move the face around quite a bit. Go to the bangs and work on the hair situation while I'm at it. Grab a bit of this. Let's go ahead and start rendering the hair out using the reference. Grab some of that highlight. Move this around. Bring the head down. Let's make the head just a little bigger and also move it up. Well, something like that. I think it's getting closer and closer. But yeah, we'll just keep working on it. And hopefully we can. I think maybe let's test out. Make the head a little bigger. Just a little bigger every time, you know. Move it down, bigger, and down. I'm going to remove, actually, instead of removing, I will readjust this part of the hair. Delete that part, or actually no, move this strand over. Go to the body layer. Use the airbrush, and I want to sculpt out her neck. And looking at the reference, we can kind of try to refer to it for how it's supposed to look and stuff. and let's go back to the body and incorporate the chin to the neck. We have to work on that shadow so it doesn't sit weird or anything. Let's grab this color right here. Grab a bit of that. I'm going to basically use the reference as a color guide for now. Bring this over and then we're just going to slim down her shoulder, make it look a bit more elegant. And also do the same to her neck. She does have quite a long neck. Maybe that's just the model style, but hey, we can give it a try and give our version a long neck too. Or try to. Bring up her chin a little bit. Move her head up once again. I'm just moving it up. Let's zoom in here so that we can start refining the face and stuff. Go back to the face. I think I will remove this highlight right here first. And okay, merge down. Create a new layer, and I'm just going to paint over it using the airbrush. So I'll just do a quick render of the eyes. Still doesn't look too great. So I want to get the general shape and also the eyeshadow. And then let me rotate the canvas slightly, merge down, copy the other eye, make it a little smaller. I'm going to be moving it around and trying to get it nice and balanced. Let's go ahead, render out the face slightly, adding some shadow in this area. So I kind of removed the intensity of the highlight for the face, but I'm hoping to be able to add it back after I render her face out a little bit more. But yeah, it's starting to look like her, which is great. Good thing Shadowheart has some very defining features that I can really just add it in, even though the rest of her face might not have that same character. I mean, even though her face is not gonna look exactly the same, as long as we have those special landmarks or special iconic parts of her face. Let's give her a little cute little smirk. She is I guess she does have a little bit of an attitude, but I guess that's kind of her charm. I think she is yandere a little bit. So now her face starting to look a little bit more like her. I'm going to start playing around with her eyebrows. Her eyebrows are a little bit lower set, so we have to make sure that it matches her face, or at least we'll try to get it a little bit closer to that version. Now that her face is starting to take shape, I will slowly refine, observe, and make adjustments so that her face look more like the in-game model bit by bit. But um, I'm also going to kind of retain a bit of my own style in while doing it. So it's gonna be a interesting balance. Let's go ahead and lock that in. Go back to the airbrush. Am I? Yes, I am in the airbrush. Okay. All right. Now that her face is slightly more rendered, let's move on to the hair and then adjust the hair to fit um, the in-game model better. So we'll just move things around. Let's go use the hairbrush once again. So good thing I have the reference there because I can basically just follow how it looks in the reference. Let's go ahead, create a little selection here. Use the airbrush. Let's add some volume or defining shadow to this area. So now it's looking a little bit more like the reference, and then we'll just continue from there. Start adding some more hair, like brush strokes. After that, go back to the moving tool and I'm just going to move it. Just have it a little bit closer and then go back to the face, and then I'm going to elongate her face. Elongate her face, and by doing that, her ear has suffered some deformation, but that's okay. We will readjust, make her ears a little bit closer to her head. Her ears are quite flat against her face, so I had to adjust that. Let's continue with her chin. Let's see if we can make her chin a little bit more, fit a bit more. So I'm just looking at the reference and then working on the nose. I think I will do some creative stylization for her nose because I want to keep a bit of my style. So let's make it like a cute little elven nose. Even though she does have a cute elven nose, I think I can exaggerate it, or at least I'll see how much I can push the look of it. Let's select a slight purplish tone. I'm gonna put it right on the apple of her cheek. Let's select a reddish color, put it on her cheek too. I might tone it down because we'll see if it fits or not. go back to the hair and move her hair around once again. Go back to this part of the hair, move it as well. Let's go this brush right here. See if we can add some wispy hair strand. Let me see how it would look if I had it swaying the other way. Or actually, maybe it would be better if it would just kind of went straight down. Oh, what? Let's move around her face. Okay, I'm just testing out some of the like if I made her eyes a little bit more angled, how would that look? So we're in the part where moving around the face to see if I like a certain change or not. Go back to the bangs, adjust it further, and then I'm going to make some adjustments to the back here. Delete. And then we have her braid. And we'll just do a little bit more rendering. So it's starting to get there. I think we could do a few other things to make it look a little better. Right now, it's still looking a little too flat for my liking, especially the hair. Let's go into the face, blur this, or actually, yeah, this is, no, that's not the blur. That is, yes it is. Sorry. Blurred her forehead. Okay. Let's flip. Once flipped. Ooh, she is looking very elegant, which is, I am liking this direction. Let's go ahead and readjust her neck. So I want to center her neck tendon. Okay, now merge down and then clean up the silhouette. Go to the arm, clean up the arm silhouette. Go back to the body, create a new layer. Okay, now let's see how that rim light is gonna look on her shoulder. Go back here. Still gonna add some shadow right where the rim light is at. Add some warmer tones. Then on the opposite side, we're gonna have more of a cooler tone. I think this calls for a choker. Let's go ahead, add some shadow. Some shadow from the hair. And some shadow from the braid on top of her chest. Add some highlight towards the center of her chest. Extend the highlight down. Let's continue to work on her torso. Hopefully, okay, there we go. It stopped saving. The backup saving. I'm gonna define the armpit here. Something like that. Let's go ahead and use a slightly darker color and do the same on the side. Okay, now let's increase the size of her head once again. Make it a little bigger. Her head is a little bigger if I look at the in-game model. So I have to keep that in mind while I work on her. Merge down. Let's work on the hand, and we can try to render it out to the point of similar to the rest of her. Let's add a bit of this purplish pink dark shadow tone. And then we'll just work our way through each finger. Right now it is looking a little stumpy and not very elegant, so we'll just reshape and maybe even move a finger or two to make it look more dynamic and elegant looking. because right now it is not very elegant. Let's go with this. Okay, I think our hand is starting to look a bit more refined. I'm gonna use the pen brush. We can carve out some nails. Let's add some highlight inside the nails just to give it that shine, and also it really helps to make the nail look like nails. Maybe I can have her pinky be slightly bent. Okay, I think this is the pose for the finger. So with that solidified, we'll just go on and kind of clean it up slash render it out more, lock it in. Let's go with the airbrush. I'm gonna highlight the first knuckle, or actually the last knuckle, and then add back the highlight, and then let's add some nice pinky tones. Go back to the cooler environment color, add back some of that environmental color, and then accentuate the knuckles. I guess I'm going to keep working on the fingers. I think that should do it. I mean, from afar it looks alright. And I think one more thing. Intensify this part in particular where the knuckles are. That's where the lighting is, and I'll just intensify that part. Make it a little brighter. Really sell that highlight, that contrast in the highlight, that is. There we go. And with that, we have one more hand to work on, so let's figure out where I put it. Okay, so it's there. So for this arm, at least, you know, she's kind of having it in a clutching pose. Let me sketch it out real quick. So we'll just sketch out the finger position. And after that, I will use the lasso tool to sculpt it out. So this is the rough hand posture. Uh, let's kind of work on the arm brace a little bit. Also, let me go ahead and use the warmer tone while I'm at it. I still want to make sure I have both tones. And of course, sculpt out some of that detailing. Going to select that area. I'm going to intensify that part right here. Looking messy, but zoomed out, it looks completely acceptable. For the arm, let's gradually include some of the anatomy landmarks, like the twisting of her arm and the muscle slash anatomy. Let me add a little bit of shadow to this part. So this part is supposed to be metal. I'm going to be pouring some of the color from that texture that I plop right on there. And maybe I'll just make some scribbly designs just for that extra detail. After that, go back in with lasso, intensify color. And then we have this part. That part of the arm needs to be smoothed out. And we will just basically refine using this method, which is what I used to do with Photoshop. Very much the same technique, just basically this program is a little bit better at blending. Go back to the hand. I'll just re-render it. looking a little messy. Remove that. I'm going to move this over a bit. Flip. Go back to the hand. Let's zoom in. I guess I should probably make a better end for her for the arm brace here. It looks kind of messy. Alright. Fixed it up a little bit. Cut, paste, and we're just going to move this up. Maybe make the hand just a bit bigger. Let me call this arm. Well, I guess we'll just keep it arm, and then this layer is going to be the hand. Now that that's done, let's continue. Slowly but surely, I'm going to work out where the nail is, add a little shine to it. So immediately it ends up looking like nail. Every time after I start adding the highlight, even though the finger doesn't look too great. Let's go ahead and use the airbrush. Lock it in, airbrush. Time to add the warm tones. Add the environment rim light. I'm going to use the airbrush for this. Airbrush slash the lasso tool. Okay, come on. Every time. It just makes everything stuck for a bit. Okay, next up is just kind of adding some more shadow to the background fingers. Refine the finger that's kind of showing a bit more and vice versa, and we just have to keep at it basically. Actually, it doesn't make much sense, huh? I need to I think I might need to remove this finger right here. Now it makes a bit more sense. Fill in this gap. Maybe we can indicate some silhouette of finger in the back. That should do it. Go back to the hand. And then intensify the area that's already kind of in highlight. In this case, it doesn't look that gray, so I'm just going to erase most of it. Merge down. Well, at least we have our hand base, which is a good start. And last but not least, we have some draping. Let's work on that drape now. Let's try to make it brighter. Um, like as if there's lighting lit up behind the fabric. That's the idea I'm going for. I mean, it does work, but definitely need to make the shading a bit more dynamic. Alright, that one is good to go. One up here. Let's brighten up the background. Like that. Alright, I think that looks good. Go back to the drape. Wrap it around her better. Let's do a little before and after. Delete. Drape. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give this drape its own folder. And let's go ahead and find that screenshot that I took. I'm gonna grab this copy and we are going to put it right at her hip like this. I'm gonna use it, reuse it, I mean. So, lock it in, zoom in, and then we can make adjustments to this. Let's go ahead, grab a brighter color. And then we'll use the lasso tool. Select that area. We're going to color balance it to blue. Alright, now that that's done, actually it doesn't look that great, but let's go second idea, which is basically to take the bra and to somewhat incorporate it into the drape somehow. How will I do that? Let me think how I can incorporate it. I can warp it first. Okay. Let's go back to this brush and add some small scribbly details to enhance that shiny metallic look from afar. After that, I'm going to create some negative spacing by removing what's in here. Let's work on the details some more. Again with these implied lines. Let's add some highlight. Create some more negative spacing. go back to warping it. Let's go back to this brush once again. Then we'll add some more small details. Then make more negative spacing. Okay, it's starting to look a bit more intricate. And then blend this in somehow. Darken some of these areas. Let's warp it. Okay. And then I'll copy, flip it, and have it on the other side as well. This is just to kind of create some sort of similar element so I can tie the bra to the drape somehow. Alright, so this is what we have, and I guess I could probably stack it on some more. I guess we don't need this anymore. uh, let's see. Anything else we could use? Not really. I guess I could always do a more drape. Another drape. Let's do it here. We can layer it like this. Let's test it out, see how that works. Add the highlight. And then what's underneath it. Let's tighten that silhouette. Add some shadow from the hip decor on the drape itself, just to give it a bit of that tight shadow look. Let's lower the opacity. We can try to make it translucent. that should do it. Go back to the drape. Now I'm going to try to see if I can, let's use airbrush, somehow add some warmth in some of these areas. This part, let's add some blue to it, especially towards the bottom area of the drape. And then we have the upper portion, which is gonna catch some of these intense lighting. We're gonna get like a leg, some of that leg catching the highlights while being draped over by the fabric. We'll just keep at it, add some shadow. Okay, I have to redo that. I did not like how it looked. Let's go back to the airbrush. Add some more highlight around the hip area. Starting to look a bit better. I can intensify that area. Okay. And then blend that in. It's a little blurry. We'll work on making it to look not as airbrush looking later. Okay, I think it's coming along, so I'll just take this and apply it to all the layers, all the drape layers, that is. Oh god. Here it comes. The dreaded autosave or recovery. I mean, I'm sure I'll appreciate it if this program ever crashes, but it is a little bit irritating every time. It just comes randomly. Merge down. Alright, so the drape is done. Let's bring it up the coverage a bit. Create a new layer, and this is gonna be drop down shadow layer for the drape on top of her skin. Alright, so I guess that is more render. Let's go ahead and do the rest of her. Maybe we can make the underwear a little better looking. So her underwear is pretty ornate and very elven looking. I'll just do something inspired by that. Create a new layer first. Make it sheer first. And then I'll just kind of do some swirly designs here and there. Okay, so this is the first layer of design. Then I'm gonna take the paintbrush, lower the opacity, and I'll just make some silver trims, if you will. And after that, I guess I can probably do some negative spacing, so I'll just add back in some of these skin tones in certain areas. Airbrush mode. It's looking vampirish, this underwear. Might be because of all the translucency and dark color palette, I guess. Let's see how it will look if we added some shine to this. I'm going to add back, remove some of the details. Actually, maybe I'm going to merge down. And then I'm going to add skin tone here in that area. Add some skin indentation / shadow around the border. And then merge down. Let's accentuate some of these shapes. Go back to the bra. I shall clean up the silhouette here. And continue to add some more shadow in some of these areas. Let's add some skin tone to create translucency. I might need to bring this up a bit. Bring this up. Let's see if I can add some random ornate design along this area. It does read better a bit further away than close up. Let's continue to add some smaller details. Grab a bit of this. Let's start adding some of that warm highlight in. Should I make her underwear brighter? Oh, Let's see how it would look. Uh, let's add some more ornateness. Make it sheer looking. Okay. With that, I'll go back to the hair. Clean up the side. Go back to the ear. Let's go ahead, do the hairpin using the pen tool so we can get a nice sharp detail. Add some dark to accentuate the shine. Go back to the braid. Blend the braid out. I'm going to warp her hair. Make it a little bit more laying on her shoulder a bit more. I can't English. And at the same time, I'm going to refine this part or clean it up a bit. We'll just fix the patch of skin here. There we go. Just waiting. Okay, there we go. I'll try to blend that face and neck together. Grab a bit of the face color, bring it to the neck. blend that down. And bring the highlight all the way up here. Add some shadow underneath the pigtail, implied shadow. Add a bit of shadow underneath her face, go to her face. Let's soften the harshness of the shadow underneath her chin. Zoom in. And we're just going to refine the face. So create a new layer and we're gonna get started. Time to focus on the face this time, guys. Okay. Let's go ahead and grab our reference and put it over here. And also delete that so I can move it closer. I really like to have the reference right there when I work on something. So let's get started by creating a new layer. That way I can always go back to previous version and toggle on and off with the changes I'm going to be making. So I'm gonna start off by just blending stuff, and it's looking a little muddy, but we're gonna gradually make things sharper. Let's use the watercolor brush now. I'm gonna add some quick lashes. Grab the airbrush once again. Add some highlight in the eyeshadow lid. Refine the eye shape to match what I see in the reference. I'm going to slowly refine the lower lash line as well. And let's go ahead, create some little eyebrow hair strokes. Let's add some highlight towards that area, and then grab a warm tone for the face. Might be a bit too angular. Bring it down a bit, and also her eyebrows. Let's lower them a bit. so they're not as angular, and bring back some shadow underneath the brows. Sculpt out the face. Okay. Need to change the shape of her eyebrows. It's a little bit more of a straight line. I think before it looked more like her, so I'll just go back to this version of the eyebrows. I'm going to select this part of her eyes, make it a little brighter so we have more room to play around with. Give her more of a sultry look because she's got a pretty sultry look. Merge down. Let's give her a subtle smirk. I should probably look for some more references. Okay, here we go. Let's have her eyebrows be a bit more thick and then angular. More intense eyeshadow. Add more intense eyeshadow. And change, I need to work on the lip shape next. Bring it down a bit. She has a cupid's bow. I'm gonna make sure to include that. Wouldn't be Shadowheart without a bit of eyebrow raise. Maybe I will also have to make sure. Nah, doesn't look right. Okay, I'm gonna work on that expression of hers. Lower the opacity. I'm gonna do a little in between of the previous version and the new version. Let's go ahead and raise the pupil. So she's looking a bit more at the audience. Let me see if I can somewhat make one of her eyebrows go up. Kind of like how she does her little teasing ways. The Yeah, the tsundere ways. I'm gonna grab that, the upper lip and her teeth, and I'll have to wait for the backup. The backup save. That's automatic, out of my control. Okay, nope. I forgot to make sure to have the whole area selected. So there we go. Guess it doesn't really work. What I have to do is to move the bottom lip instead because of the angle of her face. There we go. Let's bring that upper lip up. Oh, still not happy with this, so okay. Got another reference. Let's give it a little smile. Uh, doesn't look that great. We'll keep working on it. Well, this is clearly better, so I'll merge it down for now. Create a new layer and we'll just keep working on it. Let's give her nose a tiny shine. Add some shadow to her lips. Add some highlight to the cheeks. Constrain down to the layer. Let's brush on a bit of shadow on the both sides of her cheek just to kind of snatch her cheek up a bit. Make make it look sharper. Add some highlight towards the ever tip. I mean, towards the tip of her nose. On the side of her forehead, like in the reference. Let's grab a shadow and I want to place it right underneath her lip and make sure to accentuate that area, but at the same time we want it to be a bit softer, so I'm also going to be blending the chin shadow down. Probably need a bit more shadow. Alright, I think her face is getting pretty close. Now, for her lips, I'm gonna tone it down a little bit. I want her to have a more natural lip color. Lower the opacity just to make the changes a bit more subtle. Yeah, it's definitely looking a little bit more like Shadowheart, which is good. Flip, so I can see. Well, in general, it's actually not too bad. Nothing too abrupt that jumps out at me, so I guess we could just continue on with adding some smaller details and whatnot. Now let's add those lashes. I'm going to use the pen tool for the lashes. Now the bottom lash. And then I'm going to work on her lips a little bit. Probably want to lower her eyelid a bit to make her have that softer, smiley look. I'm going to bring her lid down. Lower opacity. Well, doesn't seem like that much has changed. I want to see if I can just increase her expression a bit. What if I made this eyebrow a bit raised and then the other eyebrows? I'm going to lower it. Enhance the chin. Go back to the hair. Switch to airbrush and darken it a little. Use the airbrush / lasso tool. I'll be able to sculpt out a few sections of the hair. Bit by bit, we can add some smaller details using the airbrush tool at a smaller size. Smaller size still allows a certain amount of sharpness to it, but maintaining some of that soft edge. It reads as a sharper detail though, which is good. So we can just do some refining. Zoomed in, it looks like a man's butt. Zoomed out, it looks good. Let's go back to the lasso tool so I can section up a few batches of hair. Maybe over here, and I'm going to use a slightly darker color. Next up, just go back to the airbrush, but with a smaller size, so I can render out some of these areas. Same for here. Let's add some shine towards the top portion. Add a few hair strands. Let's move her ear up. Although it's kind of hard to see. Maybe like that. Go back to the braid. Okay, now that that's done, her mouth is still kind of uneven. Let's try to make her mouth a little bit better looking. Oh, she does have pretty thick lips. So let's see what we could do about that. Enhance the... volume of the lips, and also they're more on the pinkish side, so I'll also be adding a bit more pinkish tone. Something like that, I think. Merge down. Merge down. Okay, now I'm gonna take the outer edge of the eyes and bring it in. Now that that's done, let me see what I can do about somewhat of a flatness to the face. It needs a bit more something. So first off, I'm going to start with just adding some drop down shadow from the hair onto her face, which might help with the flatness. Let's add some shadow on the other side of the hair. I'm going to also, after that's done, I'm going to kind of pick a slightly toned down shadow color. It was a bit too bright and warm. Let's go with something a bit more subtle like that. And then followed by screen highlight. So let's go ahead and take this highlight right here. We'll add it back. Not sure if I should cover the nose part or not. Let's test it out. Let's have the highlight reach this part. And maybe a little bit on the other side. I might need to darken that eye if I do it like this. Let me not really a fan of how this looks. Maybe I'll just keep it. Nope. And not a fan of how this looks. Let's have it towards the top of her hair. Let's see how that will look. If we had the highlight like this. Yeah, I think maybe that looks better if I had the highlight all the way throughout the top of her hair. If I do that, I might have to change a few things. And also, I have to adjust the size of her eyes and the positioning. Bring this up a bit. Definitely need to lower that lid. Need a bit more expression. Come on, more expression. Let's lower this eyebrow a bit more. We'll just push it as far as we can take it so that her face don't look too stiff. Yep. Let's add a dot of highlight. Before, after. Let's lower the opacity. Okay, maybe this could work. Merge down. I'm going to reposition the inside of her face. I think, yeah, that looks better. Looks more like her in-game model. And we'll just slowly tweak her face until it feels right. Let's go to the braid part. The braid part definitely needs work, but also the back of her hair. Time to work on her ponytail. Let's go and find it. Alright, first gotta merge everything down. Sorry about that alarm clock. Okay, so here we have the braid. First thing I think I should do is I think I'm going to start off with adding shadow and then we'll gradually add back the highlight. So we have the shadow first so that her this side of her hair stands out. And also gonna add some shadow from the fingers onto her hair like this. create a new layer, constraint down, go into airbrush. I'm just going to gradually add back in some highlight. I'm going to use the hairbrush. Add some hair. Hair strand throughout, all the way down here. Let's grab some of this color now. I'm going to use the airbrush. I'm going to see if I can add a slight bit of highlight. Lower the opacity, create another layer. I'll be stacking a few layers of hair shading, I mean. I'll be adding highlight and then shadow highlight in that order until I get a layering that I like. Oh god. There it goes. Okay, there we go. Back to it. After that, go back in, add some shadow towards the bottom. And after that's done, go back to airbrush and I'll just gently add in some shading for her hair. Okay. Let me lower it, lower the opacity. Merge everything down next and then copy paste, select those areas so that I can brighten them. Let's go for a warm tone like that. Lower the opacity. Merge down. I'm gonna go ahead and warp it a little bit more. Grab the hairbrush. I'm gonna attempt to just make this look a little bit more like hair. So far so good, but it still looks a bit too flat for hair. So let's add some loose strands, or maybe we can play around with the silhouette, adding some silhouette to the outer edge. I'm going to create a new layer. This is gonna be for the tiny little decors or the braid ties, and they're gonna be silver. I'm gonna put these up, and then after we'll see how that looks. Next up is highlight. I'll just do some little dots. After that, I'll use a slightly darker color, or actually it's not even slightly, it's quite a bit more darker, and we'll just add it sparingly, or actually not sparingly, but randomly throughout. Might be a bit too dark though. Let's add some more bright dots. Make it brighter. Okay. After adding this, I think it's looking a lot more hair-like, which is good. I'm going to add some more hair strands. Okay, yep, it's starting to look like hair. That's excellent. Next up, I will take the edit that I did and maybe make it a little better and then merge it down to the layers. Below. Let me lower the opacity for that. That's shadow. So I'll just use this. I still want to keep the shadow. I'll put it towards the bottom. Back to this part. There. Go back to the face. I'll do some extra work on the face. Just needs a bit more definition and detail. I am missing a few notable features on her face, like her scar, and also she's got some skin freckles and stuff. So we'll just go ahead and do that. Add a bit more definition to her nose as well. And to her ear. I'm enhancing her nose bridge highlight. Let's add some more warm tone on this side. Let's work on her eyes a bit more as well. I'm just smoothing things out and also blending things in as well. Making the overall eye look a bit more blurry, you could say. March down, create a new layer, and I'm going to use a custom brush that I downloaded off of the asset store. It's called Stubble. It's a stubble brush, but I think it could be used for skin texture as well. I'm just going to layer a couple of these. Let's add some one-off freckling throughout her face. Lower the opacity and basically stack another layer. Lower the opacity, merge down, blur some of them, and then get her light scarring across her face. Merge down. And I believe that should be it for the face. Go back to the braid. The braid, I'm going to add just a bit more information on the side, adding some rim light. So it doesn't look too flat against the rest of her hair. Go back to her body, create a new layer. I'm going to add some shadow, drop down shadow from her hair. Lower the opacity and then merge down. Alright, after that's done, let's see, I think I could start to enhance some of the shadow area by using the airbrush. And basically just add in some more shadow in certain areas just to enhance and create a bit more contrast. Let me lock it in and exchange the shadow near the bra for like a bluish tone. After that, I'm thinking of adding highlight. Yes, highlight after this. Let's add tiny amount of shadow, blend it out. Let's use the airbrush again. I'm gonna select the light purplish gray as the shadow. I'm going to remove the drape so I can see underneath. We'll just add some shadow throughout her body. And then open a new layer, create a new layer, and then this time it's gonna be for highlight. Let's go with screen. I'll just use this to intensify certain area. I'm gonna switch to airbrush. There we go. So I wanted to intensify the brow. This is a pretty good amount of contrast. I'll just clean it up a little bit. That should do it. I wonder if I can add a little bit right by the arm, like maybe here. Trying to get the right amount of highlight. Oh. Okay, let's go with this amount. Create a new layer. And let's do lighten. I'm going to add some purple blues to the top portion of her skin tone. This is gonna help blend it in with the background. Doesn't always work very well, but hey, I'm going to give it a try each time. Lower the opacity. And at the same time, let's add some super warm tone as well. Near the armpit. The this area here. Lower the opacity. All right. Go back to the drape so I can clean this part up. I'm going to go into this hand, create a layer, constraint down. Let's go with multiply, and I'm going to multiply picking a pinkish tone and then followed by a blue tone, and we're just going to keep the blue tone on the outer edge and pink tone towards the center of the hand. Merge down onto the arm itself, and we're just going to do the same thing for the arm. Let's go for a pinkish tone and then a bluish tone towards the outer edge. Lower the opacity, merge down. Let's do that to the body as well, although I don't know if that's going to change anything too much, but let's give it a try. So multiply, pink first, especially towards this leg that's kind of bending towards the back, and then blue later. Lower the opacity, merge down, and then clean up the curvature. I'm going to use this. Alright. After that, I can do a little before and after. So before the edits, after the edits. It's a little bit more intense. So we'll just take all that and basically copy and paste it onto each layer and merge it down. Bring back the drape. The drape might need a bit of that treatment next. So let's see. Let's go with multiply first. Drape throughout. Oh, whoops. There we go. Let's do blue first. Add a little warmth. Actually, I want it to be more like a pinkish tone, so let's have the warm tone towards the upper area. Lower the opacity, create a new layer. Let's do screen. This is gonna be where I add the highlights. Let's go with like this color right here. A warm tone highlight. I'll just add the highlight throughout the draping. Might be a bit too bright up here. I'll just remove that part. I think I'll just keep it like this. Lower that down a bit. Actually, like that. Let's see if I can intensify this a bit more. Might need to switch up the colors. Let's make it a bit more blue instead of a warmer tone like that. Alright, I think we got this. So this is the base for Shadowheart. The Moon Power Shadowheart. It actually didn't take that too long to get to this point, but I'm going to be making spending a bit more time refining it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that voiceover. Yeah, this area definitely needs to be rendered out a little bit more. I think I want to make this part a bit darker as well. Add some ornate detailing. Let's add, smooth out the outer edge. And then see if I can add some intense highlight in certain areas. That should do it, hopefully. I think I could probably get away with this. Although I'm still gonna spend some extra time on it. Alright. Actually, last thing, I would like to give her a choker because that is kind of how I like to frame the necks of my female characters. So let's give her a chain choker. Let's add a few wrap around. Actually, I don't quite like that shape. Let's try to see if I can change it. Block it in. Use a dark color. I'll just do some random scribbles. Lower the, lower the choker a bit more. And then I'll just lower the opacity. Sometimes when I don't quite like it, I'll lower it. Increase the contrast. I think that should do it. Yes, this is looking a lot better. That should do it, I think. Alright. I'll see you guys in the next voiceover. Have a great day or night, guys. Bye.